Good morning. So I figured we'd have a little drive to work chat again this morning, but this time I won't drive. So I will just sit here and let you guys know what I wanted to talk about. So I really liked just kind of going on one of my rants, but especially the other day when we talked about fire safety and laser safety. So I figured let's try it again, but this time we're going to talk about business ideas. And one of the jobs that I had this week here at the shop is something that I think everyone should pay attention to, especially if you're a new startup laser engraving business or you're an existing laser engraving business. I want to bring this particular sector of laser engraving to your attention. So what am I talking about? So what I'm talking about is sign companies. I don't want you to become a sign company. I want you to start approaching your local sign companies because I believe that there is a lot of business to be had there. So what you might not know about sign companies is that they usually have a lot of equipment, but that equipment revolves around UV printing, vinyl, large format printing, and some other equipment. But what you might be surprised to hear is that not a lot of them own laser engraving or laser cutting equipment. Now, some of them may, but most of them don't. And eventually, from time to time, they're going to get jobs that require laser engraving or very particular laser cutting that their machines or routers just can't handle. So because we all have laser cutters and we all have high precision laser engraving machines, you are perfectly suited to fill the requirements that they need to get these jobs done. Sometimes they can be small jobs, but more often than not, they're large jobs like the one I had this week. So let me tell you how this went down. A local sign company in my area reached out to me about a month ago, and they're working on a huge sign installation. And one of the parts of that installation was the little name placards that show what businesses are on each floor of this brand new building that's being built. But they're very specific name placards. They're actually created by using kind of a not opaque white acrylic, but almost a diffusing type acrylic. Then they had to spray paint the surface of it black, but then they had to engrave away the black. So as those inserts were put in, the backlight would shine through. So whether it was the floor number, the business name, and they didn't have the capabilities to complete the actual little inserts and the signs that are going to go in this installation. So they had to find what? A laser engraving company to finish all these plaques. So they reached out to me. They sent me the plans. They told me what needed to be done. They actually sent me a few plates in advance to do a test on to show them my capabilities, which I charged them for. So eventually I got the job. So one of the things you have to understand is if you're going to target these local sign companies, you're definitely going to want to have at least a 12-inch by 24 CO2 laser. You're not going to be able to take on these jobs with an F1 Ultra or a diode laser because you may be asked to cut white acrylic. You may be asked to cut clear acrylic. You may be asked to engrave certain colors or materials that a diode laser just can't cut. I'm going to say it again. I've said it over and over and over again. If you want to run a professional laser engraving shop in 2025, there's 3 types of lasers that you need to have in your shop to get all the job done. And that's a CO2 laser, a fiber laser, and now with the UV lasers, I do believe that you should have a UV laser in your arsenal as well, particularly for hard to engrave items, and they do a fantastic job on glass. Okay, enough on that. Let's get back to the project. So they delivered all the pieces of acrylic, pre-painted, cut to size to me to complete this job. And one of the things that I did ahead of time before they delivered was they initially gave me a bunch of DXF files because that's what a lot of these CAD programs are using when they're mapping out all their sign stuff in their shop. Well, that doesn't really work out for engraving. What I needed was vector files of each sign ready to load into the machine. So before I took on the job and before I quoted them, I said, hey, if you can deliver me all these different sign files in this format, and I actually sent them an example of how I wanted them delivered, then I won't have to charge you hours and hours and hours to convert all these files into files that I can engrave on my machine. And they heard me and they saw, ooh, save money. Yes. So they had their art department prepare all their files in AI EPS files, which are great for engraving. Could have asked for SVG PNGs, but that's something that you want to make sure that the company delivers to you is a ready to engrave file. So not only do you save time getting the job done, but you're also saving them money by not having to convert and spend hours and hours converting all those files. So this job was super easy. I used my Epilogue lasers. I was able to just line up as many signs as I could because I have a 20-inch by 32 bed, and then just engrave batches of all these signs at a time. I actually used both of my lasers running at the same time to get this job done. It took a total of about 3 hours of loading, unloading, cleaning, getting everything prepared. And as you can see here, this is what I was able to charge for the engraving work only on these signs. And I think that's pretty good money. So to wrap this all up here, if you have local sign companies in your neighborhood, in your town, within 15 miles, within 30 miles of your town, you should be approaching them with your business card, and you should be going in there and introducing yourself and letting them know that you have laser cutting and laser engraving technology for any kind of sign projects they have. Another thing you might want to know is, even though these sign companies might have routers and things like that, when it comes to really small cut acrylic letters, they don't have the ability to cut those sharp corners with their routing machine. So once again, who do they have to call? Us. Laser cutters, laser engravers. So it's not just the engraving part, it's also when it comes down to super high detailed laser cut acrylic, that's where we can fill that gap and provide them with the services they need so they can get the job done for the customer. So really quick, just to recap, make sure that you are reaching out to your local sign companies, introducing yourself, letting them know where you're at, letting them know all your capabilities and that you're there. And I guarantee you that you will start to get work from some of these sign companies the next time they have a project that needs laser cutting or laser engraving. So until then, we'll see you around on Laser Engraving 911.